What's up, everybody? Keith the Chief. What up, my guy? How are you? Good to see you. What up, Anita Sutton? How you feel? How you feel? Tell me how you feel sitting on a mill. Is that a song from somewhere? Tell me how you feel. I think it's a Jay-Z song. Something. Tell me how you feel sitting on a mill. What up, Roman? My guy, the congressman, soon to be, right? Candidate for congressman. What's up, Roman? How's your campaign going, my guy? I hope it's going good. Meeting some good people out there on the road. What's up, Maureen? Watertown, New York. Where's Watertown? Is that like Westchester County? Is that upstate? Is that near Syracuse? Give me some more indication on where that may be. What up, Marlon Hudson Sr.? That's a name, Marlon. Are you a preacher? That seems like that would be like a preacher's name. Benita, I got some news for you today. Don't you worry. I'm gonna preview everybody what it is I'm gonna be talking with you guys about very soon. It has been an incredible day of just incredibleness today. This is a day where my intersection just shines so big. So I had a great time on Sway in the Morning this morning, and then just finished an interview for the Mike Muse show. It was a really big interview. Literally just wrapped it and ran down here just to start this thing at 1 o'clock. But I'm really excited for you guys to tune into the Mike Muse show. That interview is going to air on Sunday. I have a big interview on Saturday, but that interview is going to air on Sunday. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear and to see that one. I think we can work it out. Thank you, Kat. Super excited for that one. And then, yeah, now here I am. We're talking about like straight to Russia. It's the range, baby. But don't worry, I got my club soda here, so we're gonna be good. All right. Let's see. Oh, Maureen, it's 50 miles north from Syracuse. All right, never heard of it. Sounds like it's a nice place. All right, Roman. Hell yeah. I've set a lot of meetings saying hopeful with the status quo. Okay, good luck, brother. What up, LM? Lisa from Atlanta. Atlanta's coming in hot. Hopeful Cop. Good day, sir. Hopeful Cop, where are you from? I gotta always remember that. Oh, damn, you're right, the Canadian border, 1,009. Okay, Marie, I know exactly where you are. Its relationship with the numbers. Okay, Marlon, I see what you did right there. What's up, Jim Diesel? How you feeling, my guy? All right. Hobo Cop, you in the building. I have a feeling, if I'm not mistaken, you're from Texas, but I could be mistaken too as well. So we'll have to see about that part right there. All right. So obviously, I'm going to talk about DC. Benita, I know you asked what's going on with the news. I'm going to talk about DC. I'm going to talk about Russia. Anything else you guys want to talk about? What's on your mind? I have a few other topics that are on my mind, but tell me what's on your mind and what it is that you guys are thinking about here. What questions you want me to answer? Remember, you can ask me anything. You can ask me any comment that you want. It's all good with me. I'm going to answer it right there, and I'm going to respond to everything. There's a lot to respond to, from culture to politics. As you know, I'm going to give people a little bit more time to come in and to warm up here a little bit. That's why I'm excited to see who's all in the building and the chats. Shawnee Cooley, what up, though? You must be from Detroit, Shawnee. What up, though? Jim Diesel, Cleveland's in the house. You guys have some big news, possibly, with your former senator, Sherrod Brown, might be jumping into the race. Is that true? Is that a thing? Talk to me. Let me know your thoughts on that one. And what are your thoughts about him jumping into the race? Does he have a shot? Should he sit out? Is it time for new energy? Is it time for new blood? Talk to me. I want to know what's going on with that one. Teddy, what's up, Ted? Ted Lammy. Okay, do you want to talk about why they're trying to erase history, Teddy? Okay, we could talk about that. Teddy's coming in hot, folks. Teddy's coming in hot. And Corey Kennebrew. That's a real name. That's a good name, Corey Kennebrew. Corey, oh, you're from Flint. Word, the Flying T. What's up, Flint? The Flying T. I love Flint. I used to go to Flint all the time. My sister used to go to college in Flint. What up, the Flying T? Absolutely from the D live. Oh, you live in Jackson, Mississippi now. Okay. All right. Does Jackson, Mississippi have like a what up though comparison, like the way that they do in Detroit? Cat's laughing, so she might need me knowing of one. I'm not quite for sure. Um, Kiddenbrew. All right, Keith the Chief. There is definitely a psychological method to the way that the POTUS talks and moves. Okay. Oh, Keith, you're coming in ready. Okay, you like forget the games. All right, forget it. Got it. Noted. Noted, noted, noted. All right, so I'm going to talk about DC. And then we're also too going to get into some conversations around Russia, and then I'm going to talk about Beyonce, and then Taylor Swift has entered the chat. Any Swifties out there? I know you may have some Beehive folks out there, but do we have any Swifties in the building? I love me some Taylor Swift, man. So I think she's dope. We're going to talk about some Jonas Brothers. They're going to enter the chat. Yeah. Shador Sanders is about to enter the chat. He's going to come through. He's going to pull up. And then I'm going to talk about some music stuff and some music programming. So I don't know, anybody have any other things that you may be interested in me talking about? But with that being said, man, let's just get into it. It's a lot to unpack. So with that being said, what's up, everybody? Or as Shauna has me in the mood saying, what up, though? I'm so excited that you guys have been here and joining the MuseRoom. I'm so excited for this. It has been a time and a place. I love engaging with you. I love rocking with you. I love the questions, the comments that you always have. I always look at this as a lunchtime special. I never want to keep you guys long. I wonder if you can do it on your lunch hour. Have a sandwich, have a burger, right? Like have some General Style chicken, right? With some brown rice. Anybody? Whatever the things you may be interested in. It just kind of give you some facts, man. There's always so much happening. But I really wanted to do a deep dive into what we see happening right now with DC. President Trump has enacted the Home Rule Act, which has allowed President Trump, in order to engage the National Guard to take over the Metropolitan Police Department within DC. That has been a really big moment of controversy that is in DC right now. Lots of people have lots of thoughts about it. There is the idea of perception versus reality when it comes to the legality of it. A lot of people have been questioning whether or not the president can do it. But I do want to just outline that he does. He has the authority to do it. He has that's the privilege of being the president of the United States of America. There's so many nuanced laws and acts and cutaways and cut-asides that allows the president to maneuver in different ways and different capacities. But to be specific, the Home Rule Act reserves certain federal override powers. One of them allows the president to federalize the DC police for up to 30 days in the event of emergency. And I'm putting the word emergency in quotation marks because I'm going to release some data. Not release, it's already out there. I'm going to discuss some data in the sense of what is constituting an emergency when it comes to that. So that allows him to do it for 30 days. After 30 days, the president has to go before Congress to extend it for 30 more days if he wants to keep the National Guard there in its present state. In theory, Congress could intervene in this case, but only by passing a joint resolution, which then Trump could veto. And so those are the ways that DC could get out of this Home Rule Act. But by the way it's looking, they're not going to be able to get out of the Home Rule Act. And the Mayor Muriel Bowser has been out front into saying that she is going to work with the Trump administration, but she has put in her opinion and that this is unprecedented. And in her opinion, it is unwarranted in this. And really what I want to talk about is the idea of what constitutes the state of an emergency. President Trump believes that crime rate is at an all-time high and it is causing incredible harm to DC. He has quoted a lot of stats that are not accurate, that are not reflective of the current dynamic, and in doing so has created this dynamic of what is the emergency. But I just want to talk about the data, and then we all can kind of go from there when it comes to what the data is suggesting, and that's when we kind of get into perception versus reality. Violent crime is down 26% so far in 2025 in the District of Columbia compared to 2024. Homicides are down 32%. Robberies are down 39%, and armed carjackings are down 53%. and assaults with a dangerous weapon are down 27%. And law enforcement has supported the Department of Justice and U.S. Attorney General statements, emphasizing that these reductions are the result of focused investigations targeting violent crews and gangs. And so we do see a decline of crimes that are happening in the district. We have to be mindful that there are crimes all over America, not just in major cities, but in smaller cities too as well. And so the idea that we're going to eradicate all of crime is not a possibility, right? And in particular, in a downward trajectory. I don't think anyone will be Pollyannish about the fact that DC has trouble, just as every other major city has complications. But it's how do you go about working together and collaboratively in an intersectional way to ensure to address what the root of the problem is in order to rid it. I think any major city and mayor will want to work with any presidential administration to figure out how they can do crime reduction together. And in particularly looking at a holistic viewpoint, right? And when it comes to education, K through 12 public school systems, I lean into that heavily. What are these children to do to have to displace the energy that they have, right? If you're cutting arts from schools, if you're cutting athletic programs from schools, and you're making parents have to pay a fee in order for their child to participate in that, when you are cutting and not improving or not adding any recreational centers for them to do, if you're not providing opportunities, particularly in the summer, for job training, job vocation, job summer internships, like where are these children are supposed to go in direction of that? And oh, by the way, with the president and the Congress cutting $1 billion of funding from DC, that could have been $1 billion that they could have used to either do crime prevention or to bring more police officers into the force, and or use that to apply it to recreational to keep the youth and children occupied. Something I feel is a little bit unsettling that I've been hearing a lot lately is the fact that a lot of these crimes are being done by juveniles and kids who are 13, 14, 15 years old. The conversation is looking to try these. The conversation be, should these kids be tried as adults? And also to the idea of, should they be more hardened with their enforcement aspect of it? My thing is, I do not want to see children being tried as adults, in particular for low-level crime, right? Everyone has a right to redeem themselves. I know at 13, 14 years old, I didn't have the emotional intelligence that I do now. I also wasn't getting into trouble, but at the same time, I know better, right? When you know better, you do better. And so my idea is, how do we look at the holistic vantage point, and how do we look at it from a holistic approach into ensuring that we create rehabilitation, but also to create avenues of opportunity for these youth and for these children in order to be at. Where we stand right now is that the National Guard is on the premises, and in the district right now, there is roughly 800 troops are being assigned to be administrative, logistical, and visible deterrence roles. They're not in frontline law enforcement. I had some conversation earlier this morning on the Sway in the Morning show about conversation. Sometimes there's a little bit of misunderstanding, right? The National Guard, they're not sent there to arrest, right? They could potentially, if they are deputized, right? If the president deputized them, they could be empowered to do arrest. But as of now, that is not their orders. That is not their directives. Their directive is there to be on the administrative side, logistical side, and to be a deterrent. You currently see them around, the national monuments on the federal, on the National Mall, and also too where the federal zoning is around DC. And they're staying as a deterrent, and they're going to be doing it in shifts. Roughly 100 to 200 National Guards will be dispersed throughout the city at any time, using as a deterrent and a deterrent mechanism. And they're going to do like presence patrols, right? Just kind of being around so they'll be visible. Idea of create this visible deterrent. And there will be some special assistance, could be aerial surveillance, it could be transportation for detainees, or it could be also too for crowd control. But that is what their mission is right now. I think we also have to think about, are we getting into a very slippery time period right now where when there is a criminal activity that is being deployed domestically? I'm thinking about like what's happening in DC. I'm thinking about now what's happening in LA with immigration by bringing in the military. are we using the military in its best use, right? And instead of looking at the military to handle foreign assignments, what does this mean now when we look at the military from the domestic place and domestic positioning? And how is the American public going to start to view the military? The military has always been held in high regard here in America. We always thank the military for their service. These men and women make the ultimate sacrifice to protect America's freedoms and our values and our constitutions. But my concern is as we begin to engage them with domestic issues, like how does that fare? Right. In particular, if we are going to put our military in confrontational moments, in confrontational zones, what does that do? Right. And so that is just something to think about as we are beginning to figure out what does that look like when we start to see military in these places and we see these places in these spaces. Um, I want to go to the idea to perception versus reality. This idea, I keep hearing the sentiments that it doesn't feel like the numbers are reflective. Excuse me. It doesn't feel like what the numbers suggest, right? I'm hearing this idea that people do feel unsafe, right? I think social media has a lot to do with that. I think local news has a lot to do with that. I do think that because local news, and shout out to local news, local journalism, I'm a big fan of that. They have to report stories, as they see it, that's happening in crime that is happening when they see it. The difference now is that it's uploaded on social media, and it has the ability to live there and to stay there. So you start seeing the reshares, the likes, right? Passing on clips to your friends and family. And there's this heightened sense of awareness. We have these things now called the Citizen app. Is here in New York City. A lot of people use it. So we're constantly aware of police activity and monitoring. So it's more omnipresent. We also too have technology with ring cams, right? That are able to capture certain things and it gets uploaded. And so I think that is the perception versus reality, is that the perception may feel like this crime is all around, is more around us. But the reality is just that we're just seeing it a little bit more. It doesn't mean necessarily that things are less safe. We're also too seeing it in a way. I mean, I'm gonna have to be real. I want to know where my DC folks are at with this too as well. The gentrification that is happening now within DC, right? And what is that playing into spaces in ways that is um, changing the demographics and the culture and the way that things are done. Rules are norms have been established and just normalized, right? And so, are there more calls for loud music, right, in different places and spaces, right? Is there disturbance calls that are being placed, and does it cause more of a tension within neighborhoods and community that could escalate to misdemeanor dynamics that are at play? And so, these are all difficult conversations that we have to bring to the forefront and that we have to bring to the table to address and to look at this holistically. And so for now, this is where we are with the Home Rule Act. So now you guys are all familiar with this law and this rule. The president does have the authority to do that. The MPD is now underneath the direction of Attorney General Pam Bondi, and also too as well as under a special commissioner from the federal government that is now the commissioner, the acting commissioner of the MPD for the next 30 days. And then we're going to see what's going to happen if President Trump and Trump administration goes forward to get an extension of the 30 days. But I know I have some folks in here from DC, and I also do have some folks in here from other places. I'll be curious to know if you guys have any questions or if you have comments in terms of what it is that you're thinking about. And I did too as well. There's a lock screen that's happening, but that's also too is, will this be able to come around like to other major cities, right? DC is such a unique situation, unlike other national guards that are more controlled by the state, where DC is actually under the guard of the president of the United States because it's federal, because DC does not have statehood. And that is something that DC residents are often, you hear talked about, trying to establish and get statehood within Congress. As of right now, they don't have any voting power. And do you guys want statehood? I'm assuming that you do. You guys want statehood in order to be able to have that vote and to ensure that maybe this Home Rule Act does not apply. But I want to be very clear, though, that the president does have a constitutional right to do exactly what it is that he is doing. And so, again, that is it's an interesting, teachable moment for a lot of us to really understand the relationships of the National Guard, the relationship to the District of Columbia, and also to a relationship to the different states around the country, and what does that look like? There is a theory out there that DC will not get a statehood because there is seemingly the idea that DC is overwhelmingly Democratic, and so that if you were to give statehood to DC, those will be new seats in Congress that will be Democratic or liberal leaning, and so there seems to be some hesitation to that. But there also too is another counter argument to be made on whether or not DC should be federal on its own and not be a state, because there's so much business of government, and because it is our nation's capital, that happens there. We have so many federal buildings and so many government employees there. Should we keep DC as a territory, and should it be underneath the federal guys? And so I think those are all interesting questions that are at play that we kind of have to think about going forward. So let me know your questions that you have, any comments that you have regarding this dynamic, and in particular, if you live in a big city, if you think this is something that could happen to your city. Do you think this could possibly set a precedent of what could be happening when it comes to it? Because now also too, want to then bring up the idea of Russia. That is my favorite thing to go is to pull over into the summit. Benita, but I see you think DC should be left alone. Expand on that just a little bit more when you say it should be left alone, and the idea of that. In essence, what's up, Essence Morris? You said DC has more police per capita than anywhere else. Every agency has their own police force in addition to uniform Secret Service. So, Essence, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen? I know Essence, you are, and I think I talked to you on the morning show. What's up, Essence? I think you have living in the district. Do you see the National Guard? Have you seen the presence? And is your concern that this could escalate? That it isn't just a simple mission? Do you see this escalating to any other dynamics? What are you and your friends talking about? And Essence, I'm leaning into you a little bit more, Essence, too, as well. I'm just curious too, as well. Do you feel the perception versus reality? Right? Do you think that there is a perception there's more crime than actually it really is? I want to lean into that a little bit more because I know you have some really interesting thoughts about that too, as well. So yeah, let me know, Essence, regarding that. I know I asked a lot, but feel free. Even as I move on, I'm still going to be able to come back to this issue too as well. What are we seeing here? Everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, perfect. All right, so Friday's a big day, folks. Friday's a big day. You guys know I love talking geopolitics with you. And President Putin is coming to Alaska to sit with President Trump to discuss what is going to happen with Ukraine and Russia and the war that is happening there. I am wildly fascinated to see what is going to take place, and I am going to break this down for you from so many different sides and positions in order for you guys to have an understanding of what to look out for coming out of that meeting. But the challenge is going to be, though, I'm a start at the end and then kind of back into it, is what will we be able to gather from that meeting? Because the only people that will be in the room with President Putin and President Trump is just the interpreters. And like last time, we didn't get a readout of the meeting, and I don't know what exactly we will be able to gather from that, or if any deals are getting done. As you know, President Trump, from the last meeting with Zelensky in the White House with Vice President Pence, it was a very contrite and difficult conversation for Zelensky. President Trump and Vice President Pence chastised Zelensky very openly, and there was a very agitated meeting to where you can see all parties involved left extremely frustrated. President Trump and Vice President Pence made Zelensky believe that he was not appreciative of the help and support that the United States has given to Ukraine. President Trump has been very hesitant to continue funding this war, both monetarily and also through weapons and the arms. There are a lot of Republicans as well who have been very apprehensive to continuing the support of Ukraine, but there are also a lot of Republicans who do support Americans' efforts in supporting Ukraine. A lot of Republicans and Democrats both believe and understand the importance of maintaining Ukraine's sovereignty. And so the fact that because it borders Poland, and what you don't want in any regards, Poland is a NATO state, is a NATO country, Ukraine is not. You don't want President Putin or Russia to be able to take over and take control of a sovereign country like Ukraine, because then that means the Russian borders would then be up against Poland. President Putin has always had this reimagining of the USSR, right? And bringing out all the territories of Mother Russia, as they say. And so part of that is to really reimagine that. And then could Poland be next? And so if that does happen to Poland, then the America, we will have to be in at that moment, pretty much boots on the ground, because of the NATO dynamic is that when one nation is in conflict, we all are in conflict with that dynamic. And so that is part of it too, as well. Then you have the European Union. They have a different take on this too as well, right? Like a Central Europe wants stability. And Central Europe definitely wants Ukraine to be successful in order to ensure they're able to keep Russia in check. And so that Russia doesn't feel like that their actions of invading a sovereign country doesn't go unchecked. And then therefore Putin may feel emboldened to do more and to be more aggressive. And also too, he's achieving exactly what he's wanted, was to have prominence on the world stage. And so the European Union is also too concerned is President Trump giving President Putin a reward by allowing him to come to the United States to have a summit with the sitting president of the United States, disregarding the fact of, even as we talk right now, Russia is constantly making more inroads into Ukraine, and is also still doing and assaulting Ukraine even after the summit had been finalized and agreed upon. Also, too, European Union's perspective is that they are not at the table, right? And so that is a concern of theirs. Like, where is their voice in this? Because of the fact that they have been supporting Ukraine, they have been in allyship with the United States through NATO in supporting Ukraine. So their concern is, are their voices being limited? Also, too, where is Zelensky? Zelensky is concerned that he's not in the room, and the European Union is also too concerned that Zelensky is in the room. Their concern, both from Zelensky in Ukraine and from the European Union, is that will Russia and Trump, the United States, work out an agreement without having Ukraine's voice at the table that then Ukraine will have to agree to, because what is being bantered around right now is that they essentially will call a truce in this war with the amount of territories that Ukraine has and versus what Russia has and what Russia has been able to take. Zelensky is stating that underneath no conditions is he going to accept a term of that. And so if the takeaway, possibly, we don't know, we have to wait, is that is what President Trump and and Putin have agreed to. What does that look like when Zelensky says no? Like, what does that look like when the European Union disagrees with that too altogether? And so this is something of a dynamic that is going to be at play. But the other X factor here is that we have seen a softening to Ukraine by President Trump. And also, too, we have seen a hesitant in a relationship between President Trump and President Putin. President Trump is seemingly much more frustrated with President Putin because he feels like Putin isn't honoring his word, right? In the sense of creating a ceasefire, and that Putin is being difficult and Putin is not willing to stop the invasion and stop going forward, which has frustrated President Trump to possibly start to warm up to Ukraine a little bit more, but also to become a little bit more boldened and hardened towards Russia. So we don't know what we're going to see on Friday in terms of what position President Trump is in. What President Trump did, I thought, was very tactically and politically astute, because he knows that a large part of his base does not want this war to continue in Ukraine, nor do they want the U.S. involvement in Ukraine. He also too is very much aware that a lot of Republicans do not want to continue funding Ukraine and moving forward with it, while at the same time recognizing the need to support Ukraine and the need to ensure that Ukraine maintains its sovereignty. So I thought an interesting workaround around that was he allowed the European Union to purchase U.S. arms. And in exchange, the European Union can purchase U.S. arms that will then go towards facilitating and assisting Ukraine. He can then come back to his base and come back to American public and to the Republican Party and say, look, we're not directly giving the arms to Ukraine, and also to the arms that are going to Ukraine, we are getting money back from that by the purchase of the arms from the European Union. And so I think that he created a win-win strategy and tactic when it comes to creating that solve around. And so again, it's what are we going to see when it comes to that? Are we going to see the tactical dynamic of Trump when it comes to having this conversation with Russia? Is it going to be a little bit more pro-Russia side when it comes to Friday? Putin is an incredible intelligence officer. He used to be head of the KGB. Like, is he will be able to do a psychological dynamic to endear President Trump like to him? And so what does that mean? And then what is that going to mean for Zelensky going forward? And so those are all the different components that we'll be looking at coming out of Friday summit. It is high stakes, folks. It is high stakes because we're going to see is what happens. Will Russia get rewarded for invading a sovereign nation? And what does that look like? And then what does that signal to other nations going forward? In particular, what does that signal to China going down as Taiwan is sitting right there, right? And Taiwan is wondering the same thing, right? Taiwan is wondering what is going to be the U.S. response to sovereignty, as does that feel like China can do the same thing without any recourse, right? And so what is the measures going to do from there? President Trump has done some aggressive tactics towards Russia with issuing these secondary tariffs. I'm sure that you guys are very familiar about, like particularly like issuing secondary tariffs to India with the idea of punishing them for still sending resources to Russia. But the idea that secondary tariffs really work, right? And so that's what I mean, that we're showing signs and moments that President Trump has become frustrated but with President Putin, the way that he is moving about the cabinet around Russia and Ukraine. So I'm going to pause it right there. That was a lot to talk about. Let me know your questions, your thoughts that we have regarding that. And I did say that we will take some questions. Yep, I can see them coming up right now. All right, questions. You can ask me any questions right now regarding Russia, and you can ask me any questions that you may have around DC. So we're going to talk about both. So Keith the Chief says, Mike, you are extremely professional. How do you keep together at all times? You must frequent those rooms where you can break things and or do training in boxing. Those are really great questions, man. You know what? I don't know. I think that's a really great question. I think for me, I am just a studier of this stuff. Like I really am obsessed with politics. I love political analysis. Like there's just something, even since I've been a kid, I'm into it. Like my family, I remember on Sundays, we'll come home from church and we'll be having dinner, and then the football games will be on, and all of a sudden you'll hear tick, 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 right? The 60 Minutes clock. Watch 60 Minutes. We're really big into watching local news and world news. And I remember I've always been involved in local politics, even in high school and as a kid. I was that kid who actually skipped school to go hear like President Clinton speak when he came to Michigan State. So I've always just been kind of into this stuff. So I do my best not to get emotionally vested in politics and just look at it from an analysis perspective. Obviously, there are certain things that penetrate me. I'm human. But for the most part, I try to keep an even keel and a balance, because I feel like when a person is less emotional, you're able to be more analytical and give the analysis and not let your emotions get in the way of the data. So I believe that if I allow myself to get in the way of the data and the facts, that's when you lose the plot, as they say now on social media, the kids. And so I try and keep the plot there and straight and narrow, and just stick to the data and to the facts. And I like to look at both sides, right? I really do. It's not about, for me, it's not about otherism, but it's always just bringing out different perspectives into it. I thought that's why I wanted to just credit President Trump for doing what he did in terms of sales of the arms. I thought that was an interesting political move. I think this period is going to be studied in history. I don't know what this period is going to be called, but I think from 2020 to like now and going forward, I think people are going to write dissertations around this period. This period is going to be studied, and I think we're living in living history, and I think that is so wild and cool and fascinating and the whole nine. We're going to talk to our grandkids about this. Anthony James says, good afternoon, Mike, and all in the MuseRoom. Shout out. I saw a report on YouTube yesterday that the POTUS is planning to deploy the military and National Guard in many blue cities. You go on to say that he never mentioned any red cities, and I'm curious why Jackson, Mississippi, Missoula, Montana. I never heard of Missoula, Montana. Omaha, Nebraska. Cat's heard of Missoula, Montana. Okay, go off, Cat. Cats been to Missoula, Montana. We have to ask, what does Missoula, Montana look like? I have no idea. Anybody know what it looks like? I guess there's a picture. Send me like a DM at I am like for you. So let me know what Missoula looks like. Um, but that's a really good question. We don't know. That it's all speculative, and in a sense of like, will President Trump look at what's happening in DC as precedent to be able to engage with other cities, in the way that he's issued the National Guard to LA for the immigration dynamic, which is why I asked that question earlier at the top of the newsroom, is that we have to be mindful as we begin to deploy our military into domestic cities and domestic place, and not sending them off into foreign dynamics and territories is what their main function is. And what does that do to the sentiments of American citizens towards the military that is always held in such high regard and with such good reverence and pristine? And so we'll have to see, could a precedent. Now, what he's doing in DC is completely different than what could be done in other states because of the fact that those states are controlled by a governor. Whereas in DC, this is a special rule, the Home Rules Act, that allows him to do this underneath extreme emergency situations and cases. And the way that the National Guard is held underneath the president is just different in DC than it is in other states. So it would be much more of a complicated legal dynamic in order for the National Guard to be there. We saw that happen already within the National Guard when they were there for the immigration dynamic in terms of Gavin Newsom, and the courts had to get involved and rule. And so we could see that possibly happening. Another part to your question, Anthony, I think your question goes to is that something we have to keep in mind too as well, that it's politics, right? And so all the cities that President Trump has called out are all blue states. And also too, there are blue states that have popular governors who possibly could be in the race for the next presidential election cycle when it comes to that. There is also this dynamic of red states versus blue states. The way President Trump and a lot of people out there would talk is that only the blue states have crime and issues, and that's just not true. As you eloquently highlighted, Anthony, red states have crime too as well, right? That's just data, right? It's just facts, right? There is no crime only in blue states, and so I think that goes to that other early dynamic I said, that we have to come to the table and work collectively, right? Like, how can I think it's time that the federal government, states, and local governments work together as a collective to figure out how do we address crime from a holistic perspective, right? What resources can we allocate for school, for budget, for art, for funding, to really think differently about this and to triage this situation? But just to throw more policing and law enforcement just isn't the only answer, right? Is a solution that could be part of the toolkit when it's done responsibly. I'm going to be very clear, when it's done responsibly, but when it's looked at as the only, that is the issue and the trouble that we have coming up. From comments, being sudden, I don't know, Mike. I just feel like they're moving us, the regular Black folk, out of the way, and the city isn't the same anymore. And I think, Benita, that's kind of what I was talking about when it comes to the gentrification dynamic of it. I was speaking, the reason I brought that up is I was speaking with a DC resident yesterday, and that's what she was telling me. And she was like, it's a fact of gentrification has changed the dynamic of cities and neighborhoods, and has caused a little bit of heightened awareness that has put people more on alarm because they're not used to seeing things where other folks who have lived in neighborhoods are used to seeing. I'm not putting an attribution on it, good or bad, but I think that is just part of the dynamic that is there. And I think that's what Marion, I'm talking about your previous mayor, Marion Barry. That is what your current mayor, Muriel Bowser, is saying when it comes to statehood, and so that DC could have a voice, right? And to be able to avoid the situation of the Home Rule Act, right? And so again, this kind of goes back to why politics matter, why voting matters, and why engagement matters. And like this idea, I always say, Chanel always reminds me that the cavalry isn't coming to save us, right? So it's like people have to take matters in their own hands. If you don't like this and you really want statehood and you really want a voice, you're gonna have to work at getting to statehood, right? And that's not easy if you want it, but nothing that is worth something is ever going to be easy, as they say, right? So if it's worth it to you, then people are going to have to put in the effort to create the movement for it to happen. And then it's a difficult task. Essence Morris says, absolutely, the Guard could escalate situations. But let's be clear, it is not just the National Guard. It's also FBI and other law enforcement that have been patrolling the streets as well. I think I've heard a lot of people talk about ICE too as well when it comes to that. I think a lot of that is due to deterrence, to which is part of the order that's given to the National Guard currently right now. Leland Casey says, I'm concerned about this meeting. I don't think he should meet in the U.S. due to the optics. Maybe they should slap us. Not Slapbox, Cat. People want to say Slapbox.
Slapbox. Slapbox into the chat.
Slapbox in the chat.
Here we are.
Well, look, Leland, since we're here and Kat, since we're here, we might as well announce that the UFC fight is coming to the White House lawn on July 4th next year.
50 years, America.
Yeah, happy birthday, America. It's coming to CBS. It's going to air on CBS with the new Paramount deal that just went through with Skydance. I'll leave it at that. I'm sure you can read into a lot of that dynamic if you can and if you want. See, folks, this is wild, right? But it's also true. That's why I look, I'm not saying this is fun, right? Because these issues are serious. I'll be very mindful about that. But I think when you're able to remove the emotions out of it and look from an analysis perspective, it's fascinating and it's unprecedented. And that's why I want the MuseRoom, everyone in here, to go along this journey with us and with me, right? And I want y'all to be my, not my advocates or surrogates out there. That sounded really bad, but I want you all to be the ones out there because you guys are, at the dinner tables. You guys are having the brunches. You guys are at happy hours, right? You guys are traveling around the world, right? You guys are going to beaches and you're sipping your drinks on the beach with your toes out, right? Like you're having birthday parties, right? The holidays are coming up. And so I just want us to be informed on the why that is happening, so that we can have and advance the conversation and that we don't allow ourselves to get so caught up in the emotion and that we lose sight of the goal, and we lose sight of the plot. And I want us just to be very advanced. I want my listeners to be, and watchers and viewers to be advanced, and to be the ones to teach, everyone else, right? I look at my job as a teacher, as an educator. I'm not a teacher or educator by training, but I feel like that's what my role is to teach and do my best to teach and to educate, right? And to not to assign anything. So I love you, but let's keep it going. Let's have some fun, right? Because your lunch hour is almost over and I'm hungry too. And so it's been a busy morning, Kat. I haven't had no time to get no food, and I have a burger waiting on me at home, so I'm excited for my burger. But listen, Beyonce has entered the chat. So much entered the chat right now, Kat. But Beyonce has entered the chat. What's up with Beyonce first? Just because Beyonce got the Emmy, right? So shout out to Beyonce for getting the Emmy for a Beyonce Bowl, for happening with a cowboy car that happened at halftime. And so she now has an Emmy and a Grammy. But she doesn't have that Oscar yet. She doesn't have that Tony yet, but I'm assuming that it is coming. Shout out to Beyonce. Shout out to my homie J Dot. You know who you are, J Dot. Congratulations. I'm very proud of the team over there at Parkwood and all that you guys have accomplished to make that happen. And then Lady T has entered the chat too as well. Kat, did we get any Swifties in the room? Are there any Swifties in the room? Because Taylor has come into the room, and by the room, she is coming to her partner and boyfriend, Travis Kelce, and his brother, Jason Kelce, with their podcast, and announced that her album is dropping, and it is The Diary of a Showgirl. The Diary of a Showgirl. And do we have a date on when that album is dropping?
It depends on what you think. Now, she may announce the date later today, but some think it's September 12th. Others think it's October 12th.
Oh, so we're getting either September the 12th or October the 12th. It's going to be a 12th. And I'm assuming the 12th, for the Swifties out there, she must be big into numerology, the numbers. 12 is her number. And I kind of figured that one. All right. Shout out to my nephew who produced Lavender Haze, Sam Do, for Taylor Swift. That's one of my favorite Taylor songs because my nephew, not just because my nephew produced it. It is a bop. It's a vibe. Go spin. I'm about to say go spin. That's so old school. Go stream. Go stream Lavender Haze. Shout out Sam Do. Tag him on Instagram when you hear it. You're gonna love that song. But I'm excited for Taylor when she comes out. She creates havoc, and that's all I've been hearing from all my Swiftie friends. And I'm excited to see the direction she's gonna go in. I'm getting indication.
Do you think this is a happy love album?
The question.
All of her songs are about ex-boyfriends.
So the question I just got right now is, do I think that a Taylor Swift album is a happy love album because all of her albums are about her boyfriends? I do think so. I do think that she is in her Travis era right now, and I think she's tired of singing about all her exes when Travis is sitting right there looking in her face. How disrespectful. Fellas out there, I want to know, would you find it disrespectful if your girl was an artist and she just keeps singing about all her exes and you're sitting right there in the box, in the suite, while she is opining of a love once lost? lost. Would that mess you up? Hit me up in the comments. I guess, ladies, too, I got to be fair to you too as well. How would you feel if your man was singing and crooning about his exes out there? Like, how would you feel about that dynamic? But that's what I love about Taylor, is that she's so vulnerable. And I think that's the power of writing. I think any artist out there that's listening and watching, the power of the pen is a vulnerability. The more vulnerable you are, I think the more you can connect with your audience. I think that's the best thing and best case that she can do. And I think that's what makes Taylor so great at writing, because she writes about lived experiences. I think we're in her Travis era. I'm on a hot take. I'm going to say this will be Travis and Jason's most viewed podcast episode. And also, I'm going to go even further. I'm going to say Travis and Taylor will be married within the year. Hot take. They're going to get married by the end of the year. I think Taylor's ready to settle. I don't know. I think she's going to do one more tour. Okay, here's my plan for Taylor. This is it. First plan we've already established. Taylor and Travis, this album's about them. Taylor will then go on tour. After they go on tour, I think they'll either get married before the tour. Yeah, they'll get married before the tour. And I think she's going to get pregnant after the tour and start their family. That's my timeline. Travis has one more season. Yeah, Travis has one more season, right? And all my football fans out there, that's a good segue, Kat, to bring me to, before I get to Shedeur Sanders. Have y'all seen Travis Kelce's latest cover of the GQ magazine? I'm going to leave it at that. I would love for you guys to look at it and hit me up at I am Mike Muse, MUSSNSAME, and let me know your thoughts on the style choices of Travis Kelce. He's styled by the incredible Law Roach, who is known for styling Zendaya. And so I would love your thoughts on Travis Kelce's fashion. Hit me up at I am Mike Muse, MUSSN. I think now in the MuseRoom, you're starting to understand my facial expressions and what my facial expressions actually mean, while me keeping it cool and keeping it neutral. So with that being said, I want to go into Shedeur Sanders. No, I'm going to stick to music. I'm going to do Shedeur last. I want to stick to music because the boy bands are kind of having a little bit of a moment right now. I think we're all watching Netflix Build the Band, and we keep hearing everyone talk about they want a girl group or they want a boy group, boy band. And now me and Kat were just talking about, we really haven't seen a boy band since the Jonas Brothers and from One Direction, right? And so the Jonas Brothers is back on their tour, baby. I think the Selena Gomez at a pop-out moment. And that is interesting enough how Selena and Taylor became friends. Demi Lovato, not Selena. Sorry, I got too many pop girls in my head at the same time. Sorry. And I do love Selena. I do love Demi. I do love Taylor. And everyone knows I love Beyonce, right? And so that, but that's a fun fact of how Selena and Taylor became friends, because they were both dating Jonas Brothers at the same time. That's how they got connected. But anyways, Demi was at the Jonas concert recently and had a great pop-out moment, but it made me think about the Jonas Brothers, made me think about the boy bands. I'm watching the Build the Band. Shout out to Kelly Rowland. Great job that you're doing on Build the Band about like boy bands. And so, yeah, I think it's very interesting. We haven't had a boy band since the Jonas Brothers, but that leads me to Shedeur Sanders. I think I'm going to go on record right now. I think Shedeur Sanders will be one of the most interesting and fascinating stories going into the football season this year in terms of what is going to happen. Because right now he is sitting at the bottom of the depth chart on his team for quarterback, after he has proven and shown that he's under a lot of pressure. Like I didn't think he was going to go first round in the draft. I'm on record by saying that, but I definitely thought he would go like second, third. I didn't think he would go in the round that he went, in the position that he went. He went into the fifth round. I didn't think that he would go in the fifth round. I thought he was better than that. And I think he was better than some quarterbacks that went before him. And so this pressure and the way that he felt, sitting on, not even sitting in the room, he was at his crib when he got drafted, but the pressure and the social media dynamic and what was being said to him. And so everybody was going to be watching his first outing at camp and to figure out like how he was going to do and how he was going to perform. And for him to perform that well under the spotlight or that pressure, I thought shows great mental fortitude. And still he has yet to move up the depth chart. So I'm going to see. I think that's going to be one of the most fascinating stories, in particular if he continues to do as well as he is doing coming up within the season. Let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know if you think Shedeur Sanders should be higher up on the depth chart. Do you think he will be one of the most interesting stories of this NFL season? I definitely do think that he will. All right, so I'm going to go to some questions and comments, because then I have my Muse Movement. I'd like to leave you with a movement, because the Calvary is not coming to save us. We have to save ourselves, folks. And so I'm going to another Muse movement, how we can save ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to save ourselves, right? But first, let's go to a comment for Maureen Sullivan. Maureen says, the thing I admire about you, Mike, is you can remain very impartial and just give facts. Yeah, I do, Marie, this because, homie, I love this stuff, right? And look, being impartial and giving the facts, this actually makes my job a lot harder, right? To be honest with you. Like, I wouldn't have to like prepare and find data. There's no questions here. This is just like data. I just wanted to make sure I have the data and numbers here for you. It would be easy if I was impartial for me to come in here and be like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Our democracy is ruined. Every elected official is awful. We're not going anywhere, right? Like, that's easy, but it gets people going. It gets the chats going. It gets the likes going. It gets the shares going. But that's just not my MO. I'd rather do the hard work. And I think the hard work is important. And I think the hard work is how we advance society, and with the notion of the idea that we live in a imperfect union, but the vote that we have makes the union much more perfect, right? And so that is what I enjoy, is that how can we make this imperfect union more perfect? And I think that is by having constructive conversations and by voting when it comes to that. Hobocop says, my apologies, Mike. I'm a truck driver and I pulled over to tune in. And I started driving, so I couldn't respond to your question. I'm from Northport, Florida. What up, my guy? Yo, shout out to the truckers out there, man. I love the truckers out there. You guys know you guys have a very special place in my heart. I think truckers, you guys see so much across America. I think you guys encounter so many fascinating people. You guys see so many things. I think truckers are the most underrated resource to understanding people in society and social movements, because you guys see so much. And so shout out to all the truckers out there. I think one day I'm gonna have a truckers focus groups. Hobocop, I think you have my Instagram. If you're not, I am like Muse, MUSNSAME. DM me, 'cause I would like to get together with you and some other truckers out there. And for all those of you who know truckers, have them hit me up at I am like Muse. I think it'll be a fun conversation to really get involved with some truckers. So hit me up, truckers, at I am like Muse, MUSNSAME. I'm gonna have a truck driving summit. I think that would be dope. Don't y'all think that would be dope? Yo, that's historic. We've never had a truck driving summit. We're gonna do it. I don't know where we're gonna do it at. We're gonna find a place to do it at a truck stop.
At a truck stop. I like it.
That's what we're doing. We're about to have a truck driving summit at a truck stop. If anyone knows any good truck stops that we could have our summit at, hit me up. Any truckers, if you have a favorite truck stop, hit me up. We're gonna need one that's nice. Yeah, I do like nice things. I'm not that impartial. Worry. In a cool city. I'm not trying to go to like, but in a decent place. You get what I'm saying. All right. Sadi Cooley, I'm with you, Mike. They will be married a year. See, I'm not crazy, right? They'll be married a year, and I think they're gonna start a family. I did say she's gonna get pregnant. Is that archaic? I don't know. Is that sexist? I have no idea. Is that misogynistic? She's gonna get pregnant. They're gonna start a family. I think that's probably the proper terminology, right, Kat? They're gonna start a family. I'm like, yeah, she'll get pregnant. Just reckless out here with my words. I should be able to use the words better. Jim Diesel, yeah, Shadur gonna be all right. Go Browns. All right, he gonna be all right. Except order at leading BTS. Being back is definitely part of our boy band moment. I count that as top of the list. BTS. BTS. I don't know. Because I just finished doing a recording, I'm thinking behind the scenes. Yeah. BTS, you are right. Oh my God, Steph, I can't believe that. Yeah, K-pop. Oh, please. Okay, the boy bands are fine. They don't need the MuseRoom to promote boy bands anymore. The boys will be all right, right? And the girls do as well, because you got Pink. You have Lisa from Blackpink, K-pop era. And then you're right, Steph, you would be on BTS. I love you. My friend Steph, she is off the chain. She is all about everything that is. Shout out to her pro farm. I'll leave it at that. All right, y'all. So this is so much fun. I think I got like 7 more minutes, right? So with the 7 more minutes remaining that I have, I want to make sure I didn't miss any questions, but make sure you get some time in to get a question in there, because the final thing is the Muse movement. And I think I'm going to tie it into DC, actually. I made mention a little bit earlier that the conversations being around trying these teenagers as adults who are 14 years old. I think that's not appropriate at all. I definitely think that the reason why that a lot of our children are restless and have restless energy and are doing things, and I put that in quotation marks, is because there's just not any resources for them. There's nowhere for them to go after school. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I didn't go to school for when I went to Lansing Everett High School. I didn't get up in the morning to run to go study AP English, right? I didn't get up and run to go study AP Chemistry, although shout out to Ms. Ginther, we did make some really cool lavender soap, and I did enjoy all my classes. But I ran because I enjoy going to band class. I enjoy going to jazz band. I enjoyed going to the yearbook. I was on the yearbook committee, enjoying going to yearbook. I enjoy being part of student government, right? I enjoyed doing all the after school activities. For me, it was a means to an end, right? It was just like I had to do the AP Chemistry and AP English in order to get to jazz band so I can play my saxophone, right? And so if you take out the good parts of school, like what's the motivation? Where's the frustration? Where's that outlet to get rid of that energy and to really have fun when it comes to that? If you take any after school programs, what are the kids going to do to go after school, right? Like where are they going to place that energy? Like where do you translate that? But also to helping develop skills and soft skills and emotional intelligence. It's just not there, right? And in particular, I'm struck by the fact that like so many budgets are being cut from music programs and art programs. And so I think if kids had more programs, right, and more art programs, I'm not. I know sports. We've already done sports movements, y'all. I've been talking about sports and ways to get involved in sports and sports camps and sports teams and sports. You know, OD on sports. We've already go back on the MuseRoom previous shows to figure out the Muse Moments, how you can support kids in sports. But I want to focus on the kids in band and all the band geeks out there, and potential band geeks out there, like myself, like Kat, like you all. Steph, I don't know if you're a band geek, but for all the band geeks that are out there, see what you can do to your local school to see if there's any ways that you can support purchasing instruments, helping kids rent instruments too as well. You can find also two nonprofits in your city that focus locally on music programs. So figure out how you can give to those nonprofits that focus on that. There's a couple of foundations I want to highlight, and after we get done, after I have my burger for lunch, I'm going to update this MuseRoom YouTube live, and I'm going to put in the we're going to put in the descriptions all these links I'm going to talk about, so you can find out where to click on it. But there is a nonprofit foundation that we are enjoying. It's Give a Note Foundation to be able to help with music and programs within schools. And then we have Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation. And again, we're going to put all the links in the chat. They accept gently used instruments to give to schools. And you can also adopt a school to support. Also, too, we have Hungry for Music that donates instruments nationwide and worldwide. And also, to support the community music school programs in your area. Just find it. Let's call up your local school district. Call up your city council, right? And figure out, yo, how can I help, right? Call up like who's ever in charge of your summer recs and programs. Summer's over, but maybe for next year, you and your friends, your church organization, fraternities, sororities can maybe work all year to raise money to get programs for next summer, to give the kids something to do, like from 9 to 3. Because folks, everyone doesn't want to play a sport. I didn't play a sport. I didn't want to go to sports camp, right? So like, help a future kid be me, right? Everybody doesn't want to play a sport, right? So kids do want to play instruments. So, but maybe create summer band programs for kids who may be interested in playing a sport. If you don't have a community center to rent out, call your church, call your synagogue, call your mosque, right? And see if you can use their facilities, right? To host summer band camp, for kids. It doesn't have to be 8, 10, 12 weeks. It could be a week. A lot of times it's introduction. Sports camps aren't 8, 12 weeks. Sometimes they're just a week. And also, too, look into the Bloomingdale School of Music. That's Kat's program, too, as well, what she sits on the board for, too, as well. And then also, too, the Last Repair Shop with our guy, friend to all and everyone shows, Chris Bowers. Oscar award-winning Chris Bowers. Figure out how you can support the Last Repair Shop. All right, folks, what a fun show we've had. I love you all. You guys are absolutely amazing. The best engaged audience anywhere on YouTube. I'm gonna put it out there right now. And hit me up, man, at I am like Muse, MUSSME. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how you think we can grow, how we can promote, how we subscribe. If y'all want to be my advocates, y'all want to be, let's go old school, call street team, DM me, let me know you're part of the street team, and I think we can come up with some fun marketing strategies and figure out like how we can grow this thing, man. Now I like it. I gotta be honest with y'all, I was very new to this. I never wanted to do a YouTube show at all. Kat is why I keep referring her. She pushed me for 2 years to do this. To finally, I was like, fine. So the morning team pushed me too. They was the icing on the cake, but Kat had been pushing me for so long, and I didn't want to. I didn't like it. I was uncomfortable with it. I was like, I don't know if people want to vibe with me because I'm not, because I'm impartial Maureen, right? I don't do the emotional based stuff, but I like it. You guys like it too, and I'm having fun with it. So I'm about to go big with it. So yeah, when I set my mind on something, I go for it. And so I'm excited. And so I want you guys to be a part of it. And particularly for people who've been rocking on this ever since we started. That means so much to me, right? And I want to make sure that I honor you guys because you guys have given me your time. And so I want to honor that. So I want to make sure the original ones, I guess, right, who've been rocking with me since day one of the MuseRoom. Some of y'all been rocking me a little bit before, but let's just call it for this one, day one of the MuseRoom. I want to make sure I honor you guys. So I don't know, maybe there's a certain, like a special spreadsheet that we can do. You know what? Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll put like a sign up sheet or a spreadsheet. So in the YouTube chat and do a Google Doc so you guys can put your name, what city you're from, and your email address, so we can get you guys involved and kind of make you part of the original street team of the MuseRoom. Yeah, and then figure out how we can move about the cabin and host things in your city. We'd love to have you guys be my co-host too as well when I pop up. So I don't know, it's fun. I'm thinking aloud. We have the flexibility, the freedom of it. So I want to have fun with this, right? And so, all right, folks, let's rock. I hope you enjoyed your lunch hour. Now get back to work and being productive. I love y'all, and I can't wait to see y'all next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. When this posts, feel free to pass it around to your friends, family, neighbors, churches, and organizations, and the whole nine. All right. Till next time, folks. Peace. Gonna end the stream now. I think people laugh when I say I'm about to end the stream. I'm so not YouTube.